When I told my parents I was so excited and couldn't wait for my sister's wedding tomorrow, my mom looked at me strangely and said, "It was last week." I felt humiliated and left out. But exactly a month later, they showed up at my door begging to stay in my beach house, and this time, I smiled and said, "No." I'm Emma Sinclair, 32 years old, standing in my parents' Seattle kitchen with my sister's wedding invitation clutched in my trembling hands. Tomorrow is supposed to be her big day, and I am absolutely bursting with excitement. My dress is hanging perfectly pressed in my closet back home, my maid of honor speech polished to perfection after weeks of practice. "Mom, I'm so excited for the wedding tomorrow," I say, my voice bright with genuine happiness. She freezes. Her coffee spoon clatters against the ceramic mug, the sound echoing through the sudden silence. "Emma," she says slowly, her eyes darting everywhere except toward me. "It was last week." The words hit me like a physical blow. My chest tightens, breath catching somewhere between my lungs and throat. The invitation slips from my fingers, smacking against the granite countertop. I snatch it back up, staring at the elegant calligraphy. Tomorrow's date stares back at me, crystal clear, unmistakable. "What do you mean?" I demand, my voice shaking with confusion and rising panic. "The invitation says tomorrow. Right here. Look at it." Mom mumbles something incomprehensible, wrapping her cardigan tighter around herself like armor. We sent you the wrong date, honey. It's already done. The wedding happened." My pulse roars in my ears like an approaching tsunami. The truth crashes over me in devastating waves. My family, Mom, Dad, my own sister, they deliberately lied to exclude me. They planned an entire wedding, my sister's wedding, and intentionally kept me away. I think about the thousands upon thousands of dollars I've poured into their lives over the years. My sister's crushing business debts that I paid off without hesitation. Their home repairs when they faced foreclosure. The anniversary trips, the emergency expenses, the countless times I've been their financial safety net. And this is how they repay me? My jaw clenches as anger surges through my veins like molten steel. I won't cry. I absolutely will not give them the satisfaction of seeing me break down. Something inside me hardens, crystallizes into something unbreakable. They think they can use me like an ATM machine and then toss me aside when it's convenient? They think they can erase me from family moments while still cashing my checks? They're about to learn a brutal lesson. I'm not that easy to dismiss. Ever felt stabbed in the back by the people who should love you most? That's exactly where my story begins. That night, I sat alone in my Capitol Hill apartment, staring at that wedding invitation until the elegant script blurred before my eyes. Each delicate flourish mocked me, a beautiful reminder of my family's calculated betrayal. How could they do this? How could Mom, Dad, and my sister Natalie orchestrate something so deliberately cruel? I tossed the card onto my coffee table and let my mind spiral back through the years I'd spent being their eternal safety net. Always there, always giving, never questioning. 4 years ago, my sister Natalie, then 26, launched her boutique marketing agency with grand dreams of corporate clients and creative campaigns. But her first major project imploded spectacularly when a client declared bankruptcy, leaving her drowning in $12,000 of debt. I got the frantic call at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, her voice shaking with barely contained panic. "Emma, I'll pay you back, I swear," she promised through tears. "I just need help this one time." I wired the money the very next morning without a single question asked. She never mentioned it again. Not once. Not even a simple thank you. I brushed it off at the time, telling myself that's what sisters do for each other. Then came Mom and Dad's house crisis. 2 summers back, their suburban Seattle home faced catastrophic problems, a failing foundation, extensive water damage, electrical issues that could have burned the place down. $35,000, they told me with desperate eyes, or they'd lose everything they'd worked for. I covered every penny, draining savings I'd accumulated through years of brutal 80-hour weeks as a software engineering manager. Dad mumbled something vaguely resembling gratitude. Mom simply nodded, her expression unreadable. I actually thought helping them had brought our family closer together. I was so wrong. They never invited me to their holiday parties, those boisterous gatherings where neighbors and friends swapped stories over mulled wine and home-baked cookies. "You're always too busy with work," Mom would say dismissively, her tone sharp enough to cut. We didn't want to burden you. Too busy, or simply not wanted? I began to suspect the latter. Last Thanksgiving shattered any remaining illusions I harbored. I'd driven nearly 4 hours through rain to join them, only to find their house completely dark and empty. "We're at the Hendersons' place," Natalie texted casually. No invitation attached. No apology. Nothing. I stood on their front porch with my keys dangling uselessly, feeling like an intruder in my own family. I'd funded their entire lives, debts, repairs, even that anniversary trip to Napa Valley, but I was perpetually the outsider. The one they called when checks bounced, never when they celebrated life's precious moments. My phone buzzed sharply, yanking me back to the present moment. It was my cousin Lauren Hayes, 39, an investigative journalist who'd always been fiercely protective of me. "Emma, are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft but radiating urgent concern. I told her everything about the invitation, my words tumbling out in a confused rush. She sighed heavily, and I could practically see her shaking her head. "I didn't want to be the one telling you this, but they planned it deliberately," Lauren said quietly. "Natalie insisted you'd overshadow her big day with your successful career and confidence. Mom backed her up completely. They sent you the wrong date specifically to keep you away." My grip tightened painfully on the phone. Lauren's words burned like acid, each one a razor-sharp shard of glass embedded in my heart. My sister, the one I'd financially rescued from ruin, thought I'd somehow ruin her wedding day. And Mom, who'd gratefully accepted my money time after time, agreed wholeheartedly. I paced my apartment restlessly, the Seattle skyline twinkling mockingly outside my windows. Every memory suddenly stung with new, sharper clarity. Every ignored phone call, every snide remark about my fancy tech career, every time they'd made me feel less than. I'd been their personal bank, their emergency fixer, but never their equal. Never truly family. Lauren stayed on the line, her voice steady and grounding. "You don't deserve this treatment, Emma. What are you going to do?" I stopped pacing abruptly, catching my reflection in the darkened window. They thought they could erase me from their perfect family narrative? Fine. I'd show them exactly who held the real power in this relationship. I'd show them what happened when you pushed Emma Sinclair too far. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house with my hands clenched so tightly around the steering wheel my knuckles turned bone white. My heart pounded relentlessly from Lauren's devastating revelation. My family had deliberately, methodically planned to exclude me. I parked in their familiar driveway, the 2-story craftsman house serving as a deceptively peaceful backdrop for the storm I was about to unleash. I wasn't here to plead or beg. I wanted them to face exactly what they'd done, to look me in the eyes while I demanded answers. I banged on the door, each knock sharp and deliberate. Carol Sinclair, my mother, 59 years old, opened it with widening eyes. "Emma, why so early?" she asked, her voice tight with poorly concealed anxiety. I pushed past her into the living room where Frank Sinclair, my father, 63, sat with his morning coffee, eyebrows raising in surprise. My sister Natalie, 29, sprawled across the couch scrolling mindlessly through her phone. They all froze as I stood before them, arms folded, staring them down with barely controlled fury. "Why did you lie to keep me from the wedding?" I asked, my voice like tempered steel. Natalie's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing defensively. Mom started to speak. "Emma, let's not." "No," I cut her off sharply. "You deliberately sent me a fake date." "Why?" Oppressive silence choked the room. Dad set his coffee cup down carefully, deliberately avoiding my gaze. Natalie tossed her phone aside and sat up straight, her expression transforming from surprise to defiance. "All right," she said, her voice dripping with unapologetic arrogance. "I didn't want you there. You always steal the spotlight with your high-powered job and your confidence. It was my day, not yours." Her words struck like physical blows, sharp and devastatingly raw. My sister, the one I'd pulled from complete financial ruin, genuinely believed I'd overshadow her wedding day. "I've given you everything," I said, my tone low and carefully controlled. "And you repay me by deliberately cutting me out." Mom stepped between us, her face hardening. "Emma, you're too independent. It makes us feel inadequate. Natalie deserved to shine without comparison." Her defense was a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Dad just sat there in damning silence, his eyes fixed on the floor, his stillness radiating complicity. I turned toward him directly. Dad, you let this happen. You knew, and you said nothing. He shifted uncomfortably, muttering weakly. It's not that simple, Emma. Not simple? They'd erased me from a day I'd been genuinely excited to celebrate, and he had absolutely nothing meaningful to say. Every moment I'd been their lifeline, money, time, unwavering loyalty, flashed through my mind like a devastating highlight reel. They'd taken everything, then pushed me aside like I was worthless. My hands balled into fists, but I kept my voice eerily even. Yelling wouldn't change these people. Nothing would. I'm done being your fallback option, I said, eyes locked on Natalie. She smirked, leaning back arrogantly. You're blowing this completely out of proportion, she said dismissively. Mom nodded, her voice softening with false concern. We're family, Emma. Don't turn this into something it doesn't need to be. But it was already something. They'd drawn clear battle lines, treating me like a convenient tool rather than a daughter, rather than a sister. I looked at them carefully, Natalie's smug expression, Mom's forced calm, Dad's cowardly avoidance, and saw absolutely no regret. Only self-serving justification. I headed toward the door, my steps deliberate and final. This isn't the end, I said quietly, pausing with my hand on the doorknob. Natalie laughed, a harsh, cutting sound that echoed through the room. What? You'll make us pay somehow, she mocked. Mom reached out desperately. Emma, please stay and talk this through. I didn't look back. They thought I'd cave like I always had, but they were catastrophically wrong. I'd built my entire life, my career, my strength, my independence, without their approval or support. They'd severely underestimated me, assuming I'd swallow their betrayal and come crawling back. As I stepped outside, the crisp morning air sharp against my flushed skin, my mind crystallized with perfect clarity. They'd built their comfortable lives on my unwavering support. Now they were about to learn exactly what happened when that support vanished completely. The next day, I sat in my downtown Seattle office, methodically pulling out a thick manila folder. Yesterday's confrontation, Natalie's smug admission, Mom's defensive justification, Dad's cowardly silence, had hardened my resolve into something unbreakable. I wasn't here to wallow in self-pity. I had a weapon my family never suspected existed. I spread the documents carefully across my desk, their weight grounding me, and immediately called Lauren. My cousin picked up within 2 rings. Emma, how are you holding up? She asked, her voice steady but deeply concerned. I didn't hesitate. 6 years ago, Mom and Dad were drowning financially. Medical debts, failed investments, everything collapsing. They were about to lose their vacation property in Cannon Beach. I bought it outright, $220,000 from my savings. It's legally mine. I own it. Lauren's breath caught audibly. You own the Cannon Beach house, she said, disbelief flooding her voice. They never mentioned that to anyone. They act like it's theirs. Exactly, I replied, my tone sharpening like a blade. I let them live their rent-free, thinking it was what family did. After what they pulled with the wedding, I'm done being their doormat. Lauren's voice turned fierce and protective. Emma, that's your asset. They've exploited you for years. Hold on to it with everything you've got. Her support felt like steel bolstering my spine. My family had taken my loyalty completely for granted, but this house represented my line in the sand. I ended the call and immediately dialed Patricia Morrison, my attorney, 43 years old and known throughout Seattle for her razor-sharp legal mind. She arrived at my office within 90 minutes, her leather briefcase clicking open with business-like efficiency. Let's see what we are working with, she said, her eyes intensely focused. I slid the folder toward her. Deeds, contracts, irrefutable proof of my purchase. She flipped through the documents methodically, her expression carefully unreadable at first. This is absolutely solid, she said finally, holding up the deed. You own it outright. No encumbrances, no complications. They have zero legal claim whatsoever. My shoulders relaxed slightly, though the tension didn't fully dissipate. They act like it's their property, I said. Living there, using it like they own it. Patricia's eyes met mine, unflinching. Legally, they're tenants at best. You want to assert control? I can prepare formal notices today. Eviction proceedings if necessary. Her confidence anchored me. I'd poured years into my family. Money, time, blind trust, only to be deliberately sidelined and excluded. This house was my leverage, my way to reclaim what was rightfully mine. Get the paperwork ready, I told her firmly. I want it absolutely ironclad. She nodded, already scribbling detailed notes. I'll have drafts by tomorrow morning. Lauren called again just as Patricia was leaving. Emma, I heard something disturbing. Your sister's been hosting potential clients at that beach house, passing it off as her own property, she said, her tone sharp with indignation. I gripped the folder tighter, my jaw clenching. Natalie was flaunting my property to prop up her struggling business, the same sister who deliberately cut me out to shine. It was another slap piling onto their massive betrayal. She'll find out the truth soon enough, I said, my voice dangerously low. Lauren didn't pause. You're completely in the right. Don't let them manipulate you into backing down. I stood and walked to my office window, gazing out at the city humming below. My focus had never been clearer. That Cannon Beach house wasn't just brick and mortar and ocean views. It represented my sacrifice, my years of exhausting late nights, my misplaced trust in a family that never deserved it. Natalie's overwhelming entitlement. Mom's endless excuses. Dad's pathetic silence. They'd assumed I'd keep giving endlessly, keep forgiving their transgressions. They were devastatingly wrong. I'd built my career and life without their support or approval. These documents represented my power, and I was finally ready to wield it. They'd pushed me out of their lives, but I'd make absolutely certain they knew I wasn't erased. Not even close. 2 weeks later, I sat in Wallace Foster's office, signing a substantial stack of papers. My family's betrayal had left permanent scars, but I was finished being their lifeline. Today marked the day I severed every financial tie they'd ruthlessly exploited. Patricia Morrison, my attorney, stood nearby, her calm presence steadying me as I systematically took back complete control. Wallace Foster, my financial advisor, 47 years old, pushed another folder toward me. These documents close the joint savings account you opened with your parents years ago, he said matter-of-factly. The $18,000 personal loan your sister took out? It's now transferred entirely into Carol and Frank Sinclair's names. They're legally responsible. Not you. I signed each page steadily, my pen moving with decisive confidence. That account, originally meant to help Mom and Dad through genuinely difficult times, had become their convenient tool to drain me financially. No longer. My phone lit up with an incoming text from Natalie. Emma, I'm sorry. Can we please talk? I stared at the screen, her words ringing completely false. She'd schemed to exclude me, laughed directly in my face when I confronted her. I ignored the message entirely, refocusing on the papers before me. Patricia noticed, her eyes sharp and assessing. You don't owe her any response, she said firmly. Stay focused on protecting yourself. I nodded, her words grounding me. Natalie's apology was transparently too late, too empty, too convenient. Wallace turned to another crucial document. This legally locks your family out of your investment accounts and assets, he explained. Your savings, your portfolio, everything, they're completely untouchable now. His assurance felt like an impenetrable wall between me and their endless greed. For years, I'd paid their bills, covered their catastrophic mistakes, even handled property taxes for the beach house they'd been renting out for substantial profit. They'd pocketed thousands in rental income while I shouldered maintenance costs, insurance, and taxes, assuming I'd never push back. Today that arrangement ended permanently. The loan transfer is airtight, Patricia added, her tone clipped and professional. If they miss payments, it's their problem to solve. I pictured Natalie's smug grin, Mom's elaborate excuses, Dad's enabling silence. They'd treated my support like their fundamental right, renting out my property while leaning on me to keep everything running smoothly. They'd have to figure things out themselves now. They'll have to manage on their own, I said, my voice firm and unwavering. Wallace stacked the signed forms neatly. You're completely financially independent now, Emma. They have absolutely no access to anything. Another text from Natalie buzzed insistently. Please, I didn't mean to hurt you. Let's fix this together. My fingers twitched reflexively, but I didn't reply. Her words were a transparent ploy, not genuine remorse. She was scrambling desperately because I'd stopped playing her manipulative game. I flipped my phone face down, letting Wallace's voice pull me back. Your entire financial profile is secure, he said. No shared liabilities remain whatsoever. A weight I'd carried for exhausting years, being their fallback, their personal bank, began lifting from my shoulders. This wasn't solely about money. It was about reclaiming my life, my autonomy, my self-respect. Patricia tucked her notes away efficiently. If they attempt to challenge any of this legally, we are fully prepared, she said, her gaze absolutely steady. You're in complete control. I felt a quiet, powerful certainty settle deep inside me. My family had banked entirely on my generosity, my silence, expecting me to fold under pressure. Every signature today was a resounding refusal to let them define who I was. I'd built my career and stability, while they profited shamelessly off my hard work. No more. As I left Wallace's office with papers secured, my phone buzzed yet again. Another message from Natalie. Emma, don't cut us off like this. I swiped the message away without a second thought. She thought guilt would pull me back, keep me tethered to their constant needs. But I was done. They'd used my property's rental income, my money, my trust, treating me as a resource to exploit without conscience. Now, with every financial tie systematically cut, I was free to let them face the consequences of their choices. And those consequences were coming fast. 3 weeks later, Lauren called with troubling news about my family. I was home relaxing with coffee, the weight of recent weeks still pressing down, though less heavily now. Cutting them off financially had been my definitive line in the sand, and the ripples were finally hitting shore. Lauren's voice carried tension. Emma, your sister's in serious trouble, she said. Natalie lost a $65,000 marketing contract. She and Connor are scrambling desperately to cover basic bills. I leaned back, genuinely unsurprised. Natalie's business had always been unstable, artificially propped up by my constant financial support until I pulled the plug completely. They're feeling real pressure now, Lauren added. Connor's been networking frantically, trying to find new clients, but nothing's materializing. I set my coffee mug down carefully, grim satisfaction settling over me. They'd relied on me far too long. My phone rang that afternoon. Connor Walsh, Natalie's husband, 31 years old. Emma, I owe you a genuine apology, he said, his voice low and sincere. I had absolutely no idea Natalie planned to keep you from the wedding. I honestly thought you just couldn't make it. His sincerity caught me somewhat off guard, but it didn't soften my resolve. Connor, you're married to her, I said evenly. You didn't notice her lies. He paused, then admitted, I should have questioned things. I'm truly sorry. I didn't respond, letting the silence speak volumes. His regret seemed real, but it changed absolutely nothing. They'd all benefited from my exclusion. Later, an email from Mom appeared. Subject line, Please, Emma. I stared at her name, a painful reminder of her defensive excuses during our confrontation. I deleted it without opening it, my resolve remaining firm. She defended Natalie's cruelty, dismissed my pain entirely. Her words now were just another transparent attempt to pull me back into their chaos. I wasn't budging an inch. Lauren called again that evening, her tone darker and more urgent. There's something else you need to know, she said carefully. Your family has been talking about you throughout the community. They're saying you're selfish, that you abandoned them for your career. My jaw tightened, anger flaring hot. Selfish? After years of bailing them out repeatedly, covering their debts, their taxes, their endless mistakes? They were painting me as the villain to save their own reputations. People are starting to ask questions, Lauren continued. Some believe their version, but others aren't buying it. It's stirring up considerable talk. I gripped my phone tighter, the sting of their betrayal cutting even deeper. They couldn't control me anymore, so they were actively trying to destroy my reputation and name. I stood and paced my living room restlessly. The rumors hurt, genuinely hurt, but they also clarified everything with perfect precision. My family wasn't just ungrateful, they were desperate to shift blame entirely onto me. Natalie's lost contract, Connor's belated apology, Mom's pleading email, it was all damage control. They thought they could guilt me, publicly smear me, make me cave under social pressure. But I'd spent years building my life and reputation without their help. Their lies wouldn't undo that foundation. Lauren's voice softened supportively. You're stronger than this, Emma. Don't let their gossip shake you. Her support was a lifeline, reminding me I wasn't alone in this. I thought about the community, neighbors, colleagues, genuine friends who'd known me for years. Some might temporarily buy the rumors, but others knew my true character intimately. My family's words were noise, not truth. 1 month later, I was in an important meeting when Bradley Chen from building security called. My heart sank as he explained my family was downstairs in the lobby, demanding to see me immediately. I excused myself and headed down, bracing for confrontation. Mom Carol stood with Dad Frank and Lauren by the reception desk. Mom's eyes were visibly red, Dad's face disturbingly blank. Lauren's expression radiated tension. Emma, we need to talk, Mom said, her voice trembling. We are so sorry. Can we please fix this? I crossed my arms, completely unmoved. Their apologies felt like a last-ditch effort, not genuine sincerity. Dad stepped forward tentatively, his voice low. We didn't mean to hurt you, he said weakly. Let's put this behind us. I shook my head. Their words were too familiar, too late, too empty. Lauren, silent until now, met my gaze searchingly. Emma, they asked me to come. I thought maybe you'd listen. I trusted Lauren implicitly, but I wasn't here to bend or compromise. I pulled out my phone, opening a video Natalie had accidentally sent months ago, footage from her wedding reception, where she deliberately excluded me. Lauren, you need to see this, I said, hitting play. The footage showed Natalie laughing, toasting enthusiastically with guests, saying clearly, "Good thing Emma's not here to steal my spotlight." Lauren's face went pale, her hand covering her mouth in shock. She planned it, Lauren whispered, turning toward Mom and Dad. You both knew. Mom looked away guiltily. Dad stayed silent. Their complicity was devastatingly clear. Mom's voice cracked desperately. Emma, please. We are struggling financially. Let us stay in the beach house, just temporarily. I stared, absolutely incredulous. They'd rented out my Cannon Beach property for years, pocketing profits while I paid taxes and maintenance. Now, with their finances crumbling, they wanted to move in rent-free? No, I said coldly. That house is mine. You've taken enough. Lauren stepped closer, her voice firm and protective. Emma's right, she said, facing Mom and Dad directly. You betrayed her, and you're still asking for more. Her support strengthened my resolve immeasurably. Mom's eyes welled up with tears. We're your family, she pleaded desperately. Don't do this to us. But her words bounced off me harmlessly. Real family didn't scheme, didn't lie, didn't use someone for years then beg when convenient. You made your choices, I said firmly. Live with them. I turned to Bradley. Please escort them out. He nodded professionally, gesturing toward the exit. Mom's voice rose desperately. Emma, don't shut us out forever. But I walked away, Lauren following supportively. In my office, she gripped my arm. You did the right thing, she said intensely. That video is proof they don't deserve you. I nodded, my chest tight but my conscience clear. They'd tried to break me, control me, use me. I'd built my life without them. Their apologies were hollow. Their pleas meaningless. I wasn't their fallback anymore. 6 months later, I stood on the deck of my Cannon Beach house, watching the Pacific Ocean stretch endlessly before me. The salty breeze wrapped around me, carrying a freedom I'd earned through brutal, hard-won battles. My life now belonged entirely to me, shaped by my choices, unburdened by my family's relentless demands. My career had soared spectacularly. A recent promotion placed me at the helm of a groundbreaking project, my confidence honed to a razor-sharp edge. Lauren and Patricia had become my pillars, valuing me for exactly who I was, not what I could provide. Over lunch last week, Lauren's grin was infectious. You're an absolute force, Emma. Patricia's nod was warm and genuine. You've built something completely untouchable. Their words ignited something powerful inside me, a testament to the strength I'd gained by holding my ground absolutely. Yesterday, an invitation arrived for Mom and Dad's anniversary celebration. Carol and Frank Sinclair, still desperately chasing their facade of perfection, had asked me to attend. I sent a small, courteous gift instead, nothing more. Their attempt to draw me back into their orbit failed completely. That door was permanently, irrevocably shut. Lauren shared news of my family's continued struggles. Natalie and Connor had moved to a cramped studio apartment, their finances crumbling after Natalie lost multiple key contracts. Their social circle dwindled dramatically as former allies turned away, recognizing the truth. Mom and Dad faced their own reckoning, their reputations stained by their own deceit and lies. They'd profited from renting out my beach house, leaned on me for years, then spread vicious lies when I walked away. Now they stood alone in the consequences they'd created. I leaned against the deck railing, gazing at the waves rolling rhythmically toward shore. Their actions had real repercussions, and I was no longer their safety net. Natalie's schemes, Mom's manipulations, Dad's enabling silence, they'd tried to box me in, to diminish me, to keep me under control. But I'd discovered my true value. I'd poured my heart into a family that didn't cherish it, a painful mistake I'd never repeat. My home, my career, my life, they were mine, forged through years of determined effort and unwavering resolve. As the horizon stretched magnificently before me, a quiet, profound peace settled deep in my soul. The sting of their betrayal lingered like a faint scar, but it no longer held me captive or defined me. Lauren's laughter from our last phone call rang in my ears. Patricia's steady counsel anchored me. I was surrounded by people who genuinely uplifted me, not dragged me down into dysfunction. My family's selfishness cost them their community, their stability, their dignity. I chose myself, and it brought me immeasurable freedom. This journey taught me a fundamental truth. Your worth isn't measured by what others take from you, it's defined by what you create for yourself. I let my family define me for far too long, but never again. Their betrayal revealed their true selves and simultaneously unlocked my full potential. To anyone listening, hear this clearly. Don't let anyone dim your light to fuel their own burning needs. Stand firm in your truth. Own your value completely, and let those who wrong you face their reckoning. I did exactly that, and it changed absolutely everything. The ocean breeze lifted my hair as I smiled, genuinely content for the first time in years. I was Emma Sinclair, successful, strong, and finally, beautifully free. Thank you for hearing my story.